For years, the Casey Anthony case has baffled and enraged the public. Behind bars, secrets are often shared. Casey Anthony's former cellmate discloses the truth. The cellmate says that Casey told her that she killed her daughter, Caylee. The former inmate confessed to her own crimes and gained nothing from sharing this information. There is no reason to doubt her claims.
I don't want to forget to ask about it, so I'm going to ask about it first. You said that Casey told you, that she used to knock Caylee out?
Yes.
How did that come up?
It didn't just come up like that. It was a period of time when I used to stand up for her because I was going through my own case, and I've gotten the name calls and everything. So when people used to call her out like that and like say, "Where's Caylee? Where's Caylee?" I used to defend her because I really didn't believe anybody should be judged just because of something they did, and I thought she was innocent. So that's how we became friends. Later on, because we were in lock, we would talk through vents, through the door, or if one of us comes out to the day room, we'll sit at a table where we can face each other and talk. So when we were in the vent, I would ask her, like, so, how was your childhood? How did you, grow up? How was Caylee? And at one point, she told me that because she was young, she wanted to go out and party, but she didn't want to leave her baby with her mother.
Why?
It was my belief it was a little jealousy going on because the mother was very close to Caylee. So she didn't want to leave Caylee there. It was kind of like a fight for the best one to win with the love of Caylee, and it's really confusing. And
did she say that, or was that your impression?
The way she made comments, that's what it led to. Like, she would say, well, what's so special about Caylee? Why she couldn't ever care about me like that? Stuff like that. So that impressed that it is something like that. Well, she said that she used to knock the baby out so she can go party. And she would put her to sleep, and then when she'll come back, the baby would still be asleep, and the next day she's awake. So that's how that came up.
She just happened to tell you that in the course of, because she didn't want her parents to,
yeah.
Well, if she didn't want her parents to babysit, this is the part I don't understand, and maybe you don't know either, but where did she do this? Where was Caylee when she was knocked out? In other words,
that's the same thing they asked me, and I told them that I guess they were in the house because they lived together at their parents' house. So I really don't know. I guess they were at the house.
Okay. So you never said where.
No.
So in other words, if she put her down, then they didn't really have any contact with each other.
Yeah.
While Caylee was even at their house.
Yeah.
She was asleep, and so it wasn't like they were interacting.
Yeah.
Is that the impression you get?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I got, because I know they did live together, so I guess.
Did she say it? And I'm reading your statement, so it said something about at home. I mean, did she say she would do that at home, and then when she got home,
at her home, which is her parents' home as well, so she would tell me it was at home when she would do it, and then she'll go out and then come back home.
And she would be there, and she would wake up. Did she say what she used to knock her out?
I can't pronounce it. I can't pronounce it that well. Foam. I can't pronounce it. It's I don't know much about it, but I know it's some type of chemical. It's chloroform. I can't pronounce it.
She said that?
Yeah.
What did she say? Tell me more about that.
I know that how she did it was she would pour it on like a rag, like a wash rag, and put it over the baby's face. So she'll inhale it, and that will knock her out.
Do you know where she got it?
No. After that point, I was kind of okay.
But she told you that?
Yes.
She told you she would pour it on a wash rag and put it over her face?
To knock her out.
What was your reaction when you heard that?
I was real standoffish because, I have a little brother and sister, and I would never imagine to do something like that to them, but it was kind of hard because I was still in the belief of people deserve second chances. But even now, still watching the news and being in prison where there's more people that harm children, I'm against it now. It's, when you traumatize a child, that's for life, especially when you take their life. So I'm kind of really not pissed about it, but kind of confused about it, how you would even be able to do that to your own child. So.
Now, when I read your statement to investigators, and I know they didn't give us the whole thing, they just gave us parts of your statement.
Yeah.
They didn't put anything in there about, it's chloroform. Is that what you're...
I guess I can't pronounce it. I really
but that's
can't.
what she said? I mean,
Yeah.
that's what you remember as chloroform?
Yeah.
They didn't put anything in our records about you telling them that. Did you tell investigators
Yes.
that? Okay, you did tell them that.
Yes.
Okay. And she didn't explain where she got it?
No, I never asked. I really didn't want to know. At one point, I really didn't want to know. Sometimes you ask questions you really don't want to hear the answers to, and that's the situation it was.
Did you, let's talk a little more about how you think there was a competition between her and her mother. She didn't want her mother to babysit?
No.
Why?
I guess because the way she explained it, that as growing up, she was very close with her parents. And then when Caylee was born, Caylee was the center of attention because she was the new baby. It's kind of like siblings. When the new baby comes along, the older ones feel left out. It was kind of like that. So she felt leaving Caylee with her more often, they will get a closer bond. And that's what she didn't want. So that's why she didn't allow them to babysit. I mean, she would leave the baby every now and then because I know she's told me that her parents used to take care of her. But if she didn't have to, she wouldn't.
Okay. Did she ever tell you about a nanny?
I'm not sure if it's true. I'm really not. When she first came to jail, we were both under PC. And when we first started talking, the first time I asked her, well, what happened? She told me the baby was abducted by her nanny. And the second time, she said that the nanny came home, the babysitter came to her house to babysit. And when she went out, that's when she last saw the baby with the nanny.
At her own house?
Yeah. So I really don't believe it's true. I really don't believe there was ever a babysitter. I think it was just a cover-up for her. But she's mentioned it, but I don't think it's true. I really don't.
And I remember now that you said this, you told investigators she gave 3 different stories about that. And like the third one involved some sort of a kidnap note?
Yeah, that she came back from the club or wherever she was at, and that there was a note saying that the baby was kidnapped and not to report to the authorities. That was one of them.
Did she say any more about that note? Like, where was it? Why didn't she
No,
give it to investigators?
it just said that she never said why she didn't give it to investigators or anything like that.
So what did you think about that?
I'm not really sure because I could understand, like, if it was that case, I could understand you might be in fear of the baby's life. That's why you might not go to authorities. But the way things led to, I don't get it. I really don't. It's a very confusing situation. And I know for a fact that she does have mental disorders because when she came in, she was under psychops, which means mental evaluation.
Don't they always do that with everybody, though?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
You are
but then
placed...
she didn't go in a psych ward after that.
No, she didn't. But I'm not sure if they took her off in county jail off of that, but she is in PC because the case is high profile.
Right.
When she was there with me, the reason why we couldn't come out the cell together, we were the same custody, both PC. She was psychops. She had a psychops hold, which was mental health evaluation. The doctor has to come in every other day and ask her questions. She slowly graduates to her privileges like canteen, a blanket, all her uniform, her hygienes. You have to get those privileges.
Okay. But did she ever get out of that to the point where she was...
I'm not sure if they ever took her off completely. About 7 and 8 o'clock, somewhere around that time.
Okay.
Because I know our count cleared, and that's around 6 o'clock.
Okay. Do you, well, I'll come back to that. She asked about writing a book about this? What?
Yeah, because I mentioned about what I was doing, about wanting to write a book. So she asked me if I think that they would write a book about her, like a true crime book. Yeah.
And how was she asking it? Like, did she want somebody to or no? Could you tell?
It was more like, okay, I explained to her about what I wanted to do, and she was like, well, do you think somebody would want to write a book about me or interview me and write a book about me? I was like, well, probably. You're high profile. Probably. They probably want to write one on me, too. You're high profile. It was a conversation like that.
And you couldn't tell, like, whether she liked the idea or didn't like the idea?
I couldn't tell because we were through the vent at that time.
Okay.
That's when I was above her, and we talked through a little vent in the wall.
Okay. How did you know that you were above one another to even be able to talk?
Well, all the cells are numbered 1 through 32. Downstairs is 1 through 16. Well, all the even number cells, they line up with each other.
So you just sort of know.
Yeah.
Where everybody is. She talked about, I think, to you about having a child so young. Mm-hmm. What did she say about that?
That she didn't think that it was a good idea for her to have a baby at so young because she still wanted to live a life. She still wanted to party, still wanted to meet guys, go out there to clubs, and that she didn't think it was actually a good idea for her to have a child at so young. She felt like her life was being taken away because now you have more priorities to handle.
And what was your reaction when you were hearing her say that, and how was she saying it? Was she sort of saying it like explaining her? I mean, well, I don't know why I put words in your mouth.
It was more like basically like just having a conversation, kind of explaining how she felt about actually having a baby at a young age, and I didn't really see nothing wrong with that. I mean, the circumstances, yeah, it's a wrong thing to say, but a lot of parents that have kids at young ages do wonder. Even my mom has wondered, maybe she would have went to college, maybe something else would have happened. So
you understood that?
I understood that, but not in the circumstances that we're in. So.
Right, you thought it was an odd thing for her to say when her daughter's missing and she's now talking about regrets about ever having her.
Yeah.
Just didn't seem like it was right at the time.
No, it didn't.
She said she told you her mother was telling her that she was an unfit mother?
Yeah.
What did she say about that?
That because of her wanting to drink and party all the time and all the different guys that she had around the baby, that her mother felt like she wasn't a fit mother, that she wasn't doing for her child. She was doing more for herself. She was being selfish. Which is true. It is.
Yeah. You called law enforcement, and let me ask you a little bit about that again, because you were having conversations, trying to get her, for whatever reason, to come out and maybe just talk to them and tell them whatever she really knew about whatever really happened. Mm-hmm. And that never really came to be, as you said. But at one point, why did you decide, in other words, if you were sort of talking to law enforcement at one point, to Brian Cross, and telling him that you were sort of maybe talking to her, I guess, did he know that you were talking to her?
He knew we were housed in the same dormitory and that we were, like, every now and then talking.
But he didn't know the extent?
No, I never told him anything that she ever told me or anything like that, because at the time I didn't want to get involved. It was another case. It was somebody else's case. I didn't want to get involved.
You were having your own case at that time. Okay. So when did you reach out?
Around Thanksgiving time last year. I was in here. I called through the phones and made a phone call.
Who'd you call?
Several different places, actually. I called the prosecutor's office, and it said call between 9 to 5 and gave me a list of numbers to push, and there was no homicide, so I was like, okay. So then it was the Orlando Homicide Department. They said the same.
Orlando Police Department.
Yeah, they said the same thing. Finally dialed 911.
Back in last November.
Yeah.
And then who did they put you in touch with?
They transferred me to homicide department in Orlando, and I'm not sure who got on the phone, but they took my information down and came to see me in a couple weeks.
Okay. So as soon as you did reach out to them, they came. Okay. And what the document said that we got the other day said that you are not asking for anything in return.
No.
Is that true?
That's true.
Okay. You haven't even called your lawyer?
No.
Called anybody?
No. The only real thing I asked was not to get out into the media, because at first, when my case hit the media, I was placed in lock off rip, and it messed it up a lot because a lot of the articles that were written about me wasn't really the truth of what happened. So I was kind of scared about that happening again. Well, once it hit the media, I received your letter, and I was like, okay, well, I might as well now.
It's out there. Yeah, it's out there now.
It's out there now.
Because it was released, I forget when, last week.
Yeah.
Last week. Maybe, last Tuesday. So you, even in the future, you do not plan to ask for any break on your sentence.
No.
I just checked it today on the way here, and it's like 2037.
Yeah.
So you have like another 27 years to go, plus I guess some gain time maybe.
Yeah.
You're not going to ask for anything.
No,
Why?
because I'm fortunate to have that sentence, period. So I'm not going to ask for nothing in return. And I have my own court stuff that I'm working on. So this has nothing to do with me going home tomorrow or in a couple of years. It has nothing to do with that. It was just conversations I had with my parents, because, like I said, I never told everybody what she told me, but people knew I talked to her, and people, like my parents, knew I knew stuff. And just like the first time, I turned myself. It's the right thing to do. It's the second time, it's the right thing to do. So I'm not asking nothing for a return. There's no need for it. It's a child that's the victim. So for her, I mean, at least the truth will be out. At least people can breathe. At least another person like that can never have children again to do it to them again. And plus, being in prison here where you have child molesters and baby killers everywhere, it makes you see it differently. It really does. In my opinion, they should all be here for life. Simple as that. It's not right to hurt a child.
Some people think that, a life sentence, and I'm not going to make any judgment calls on this, she's facing a possible death sentence, but some people feel, and I just heard someone say this on one of the news programs yesterday, that a life sentence for someone who's a psychopath who doesn't care is sort of a cakewalk in a sense, because they're able to just go about their business, get letters. She was talking about, in her letters to Robin Adams, getting, letters from guys, and she's sort of giggling about it, and, like you said, staring at herself in the mirror. Yeah. I don't know, what do you think about that whole issue?
Well, it's different when you actually come to this compound or any other compound. It's different. You have people to tell you when you can take a shower, when you can use a bathroom. You have to sit up at certain times, what to wear, how to wear your makeup, how to wear your hair. I mean, how to walk down the compound, what to eat. I mean, everything. So it's different when you actually hit this reality. It's completely different.
Prison is totally different than jail.
It's completely different. Completely. Everything. Like, I didn't believe it either, because in county, I knew the officers, everybody knew me. I was 18 when I came in. I was the little baby to everybody. But when you hit this compound, you're just another DC number. You're not an individual, you're just another DC number. There's no getting to know officers and, play around with them. No, there's none of that. The food is a lot worse. Our canteen is a lot worse. The only thing we get cigarettes. I mean, it's different reality.
The whole time you were there, you think that was
She was, because they have a board in confinement, and they have everybody's names with their cell numbers and what they're there for. Like, mine said PC, hers said PC/psychops. So.
And as long as you were there, it always said that.
Yes.
Did she ever talk about that she was just upset because she was in the jail and she couldn't look for Caylee, or nobody was doing enough to find Caylee?
No.
Or anything like that?
No, she didn't. We did have conversations like, this food sucks. Regular conversations inmates have. But most of the time she was happy and go lucky and doing her hair in the little mirror that we have in the cell, ordering canteen every week, come out, use the phone, go outside, watch TV.
Use the phone?
Yeah, we were allowed to use the phone.
But she would use it? Because
in the very, very beginning.
Okay, all right.
Until it started going on to the TV.
Then she
That's
stopped.
when she stopped.
Okay. But doing her hair, what do you mean? When she's
like, standing in front of the mirror and just play with it and look at yourself. And she was always smiling. People, I remember, especially in the beginning, her attorney would come every single night. Well, when she has to go out to see him, the officer pulls out of the cell. She has to be shackled right here and belly chained and put shackles on her feet. Well, to do that, they will have her in the day room, and she'll have to kneel on one of the stools. People will come on the door and say, "Casey, where's Caylee? Where's Caylee?" Just messing with her, and she'll just smile or turn around and say something to the officer, and it didn't bother her. It really didn't. It didn't bother her at all. And like I explained to the investigators as well, you can tell when somebody has remorse. You can see it in them. They're not going to be able to smile. Even if they're smiling, it's a cracked smile. It's a painting smile that they put on their face. But when it's a family member, you can't even do that. When you have remorse over something, even when you're grieving over something, you can't. If she didn't do it, you would still see fear in her of what's going on.
Where's her daughter?
You didn't see none of that. You didn't see any of that. It was, her eyes were always cold, and she always had a smile on her face. Like there was no worry in the world. That's where I kind of backed up and stopped talking to her like I usually was.
Why? Because you started to feel
that she wasn't the type of person that I could actually have a friendship with. If your state of mind is like that, and you do have an evil spirit in you, I'm not going to talk to you like that. I'm not going to befriend you. I tried to help her in the beginning. I tried to, convince her, well, maybe you should just talk to them. And
talk to who?
To the detectives, anybody. I did it. So even my detective of my case asked me a few times if I did talk to her when I had meetings with him. And at one point, they actually believed that I could maybe convince her to talk to them, that it is the best thing to do, that it is right, and you're not going to bury yourself underneath the ground just for telling the truth. Well, it didn't work. I tried, it didn't work. And I was...
Before you go on with that, just so I'm clear, I know your detective was Brian Cross, who's not really involved directly with the Casey case, but when you say they were hoping or they were thinking maybe, I mean, did they tell you to try to do this, or was it just that detective because he knew you from your case, or what was your feeling?
It was, I've had the chaplain workers that worked in my county jail. I've had a few officers
at the jail. So what you're telling me is the investigators on Casey's case.
No, I
the
never.
Ones you talked to,
I never spoke to them
before. They weren't the ones who were telling you to try. There was no indication like that. But the chaplain at the jail was trying to.
I've had different, because we have different chaplains and different volunteers that come in, and they all would make comments that they believe that maybe I can convince her to just come out in the open. Because if you really know about my case, I turned myself in. So because I did that, they felt like maybe I could convince her to do the same thing. So it was kind of like that. It was just comments.
And why were they trying to do that, though? Why were they trying to?
That was before the baby's body was found. Everybody was focused on where's the body. That was before the body was ever discovered.
Okay, but I'm saying, why would the jail chaplain or other jail officers get involved in that part of it? Did they think she was alive? Did you think she was still alive? And they were saying maybe she knows where she is, or they thought she was dead, but still, let's just...
Yeah, it was kind of iffy. It was, some people believed that maybe she could be alive. Some people believe that she is dead, but where's her body?
Right.
Nobody's body should be left out there like that. So it was kind of just let the truth come out and let everybody be able to breathe now. It was that type of situation.
Okay. And you did try?
I tried.
How did you try?
By explaining to her about how I did it and, that it came out to be the best thing. I tried to tell her that the police isn't always your enemy. Explain it to her like that. The police is an enemy to criminals. They're not always enemies to people that are trying to do right. So I tried to explain it to her in that way, and she always brushed me off.
What'd she do? What would she say when you...
She changed the subject on me. She wouldn't want to hear it. She didn't want to talk to the police. She felt like the police was against her. They were trying to bury her, and it just didn't work. Nothing I ever said to her actually registered.
But when you would do that, she didn't say, I didn't do it. She wouldn't say that either. She wouldn't say, look, it's not me, it's somebody else, and I need to get out here and find them.
She never said that. Not one time.
What did you make of that?
I believe that she did do it. I really do. I believe that she did. Just from watching her for so long that I have, and the communication that I had with her, even outsiders that don't know her in the jail, when you watch the TV, every court date, there's the first of them, she used to smile. Now she just sits there cold. I've never seen her cry, not one time.
Well, she has. She has cried at times, but...
Maybe in the courts, but not in the jail. Not when you're private space.
She never cried. You've never seen her cry in the jail?
Not one time. I was there when the body was found, and they told her, and I called her to the window, and I said, are you okay? Sometimes you have to spell stuff out on the window. So I spelled out, are you okay?
What, you mean like just writing
just
with finger
are
okay.
you okay? And she was like, and turned around and said, hold on, turned around and went into the mirror, got something to eat, and didn't even cry when the baby's body was found. That's why I say I really do believe that she did do it. You can't even shed a tear for your own child.
Now, I remember what we heard about that day before was that they took her to medical or somewhere to tell her. In case that's been documented. I mean, she went to medical somewhere.
They might have.
But then I guess she came back eventually.
Yeah, they might have done that. But I know I was there when the chaplain came in and went inside her cell and told her. And we all knew what was going on.
So they told her in her cell and then took her out to medical, maybe?
I'm not sure what happened first.
Okay.
Because I never knew that she even went out to medical. I know she goes out her cell a lot, so she could have been anywhere.
She did. I mean, they took her to a clinic area, apparently, to tell her. But I think she also heard it on the radio. I'm trying to remember that day. She had a radio in her cell, and when somebody went in to take her to the medical area, she was already listening to the reports about it on the radio, so she sort of already knew.
See, I know she had a radio. I didn't know. I didn't really talk to her.
Okay, all right.
The chaplain came at nighttime,
Okay.
so all that could have happened
And you don't
during
know what
the day.
day? Yeah, see, it was like 9:30 in the morning when they found.
Yeah, I know that from reports that I've seen that it was early in the morning that they found the body. So what happened from the morning to that night, I'm not sure what happened. Because she goes out her cell just like I did all the time.
Okay.
So,
but you're saying at night then?
At night the chaplain came.
And she just wasn't crying?
No. And that was the chaplain. That's the one who cried too. She didn't cry. Not when I asked her.
And when you asked her, are you okay, what time of day was that, if you remember? Like around the time of the chaplain or earlier?
It was right after the chaplain left. It could have been. The only thing that is good is our visits, that we could actually see our families. Everything else is worse. I'd rather be in county, actually. Do my whole 30 in county.
I'm just going to ask this real quick because it's neither here nor there, but when you visit with your family, is it like this, or do you have to use those?
No,
It's
those
in the same room?
It's in here where we're at right now.
Okay, so you are able to like hug somebody.
You can hug them, you can give them a kiss on the cheek.
Okay.
And you can, like, with kids, they're allowed to sit on your laps and stuff.
Okay, so you
It's
do
nicer.
have some contact like that. Now, before I forget to ask this about the jail, and this is sort of separate from all of this, but It sounds like, everybody was supposed to be in protective custody, that they were not to have contact with each other and other people. Now you're telling me that you could even sit face-to-face with her at times at the jail?
In the day room.
I thought they were supposed to clear everybody out.
You're not supposed to. But some officers will maybe turn their head, and some officers didn't know because we were sneaky. I mean, you weren't supposed to. It's not like an officer actually said, okay, just sit right here and talk to her. We would get yelled at for talking through the door. We would get yelled at for talking in the vent. We'll get yelled at if we were caught waving at somebody. When you're in protected custody, even if you go out to take a shower, the whole dormitory is cleared out.
That's what I thought. But, I mean, how were you sitting face-to-face then sometimes?
Because sometimes when I'm waiting for them to get my shackles through the control room,
right,
I'll sit at the table and I'll kind of turn to her room and talk to her. You're sneaky. Yeah, you're sneaky. Or every now and then, because I was there for I was there for a year in confinement, the officers trusted me when I pass out supplies and stuff to the rooms, put them by their doors. Well, every now and then when I put pads by a door, I slip a note. You're sneaky. That's it. The officers, there were a few that did kind of feel bad because we have no communication with nobody but the officers. So when you say something to somebody, they'll let it go on for a couple minutes and then stop it. Okay, no more, enough. Go back to your cell. If we get caught doing something, we get sent back to our cell. We don't come out for the rest of the day. So, I mean, there was punishment. Officers never allowed it like that.
Right.
But we were sneaky. Pretty much.
And speaking of officers, do you know Sylvia Hernandez?
Yes.
She's under investigation now.
I know. I had an interview over the phone the other day about it, and I am aware of it, and what they're trying to say isn't true.
Who's trying to say?
Whoever is putting the investigation upon her and putting her in investigation, none of that stuff is true.
Oh, you're saying that she never really...
No, she was only, her biggest problem was she was too nice to us. And sometimes if she does it for one person and then turns around and says, no, okay, stop, that person will get mad. Well, you did it for her, and then
she has to do it for them, too.
Yeah.
So, there have been questions raised because Robin Adams insinuated, and we didn't get her whole, I think we got some of her statement, too, but she said that Sylvia Hernandez helped her pass letters or helped her communicate with Casey, and she didn't want to get anyone in trouble. So she didn't really want to come out and say it. And so then everybody was wondering, because Robin tried to sell the letters. So everybody's trying to figure out, well, how far did this go? Did Sylvia, pass some of the letters? Was Sylvia in on trying to sell the letters? I mean, what's your take on all of that?
As long as I was there, I never seen that happen.
You never saw Robin take letters?
No, I've seen inmates pass letters to each other, but I've never saw an officer actually take a letter from somebody and hand it to somebody else.
Ever, okay.
Ever. And if it did happen, I would have had it too, because I was there for 2 years.
Okay.
So the only thing that Ms. Hernandez ever did was allow us 10 extra minutes in the shower, a couple minutes on the rec yard when we weren't allowed to be on the rec yard. Stuff like that, little stuff. She was an officer that if you had a problem, you can call her to your door and you can talk to her. And if she can do something for you, she will.
Okay. So she might have helped them communicate, like you said. She lets people cross paths for a few minutes and let them talk, and then...
we have 2 staircases that go down. If your room is way over here, but you're right by the stairs, she'll let you go all the way around, make your little round for the day, and then go back to your cell, go to the shower. It's just little stuff like that made us happier because we were stuck in a room all day long. Right. So to be able to walk around and say hi to somebody, we would leave her alone for the rest of the night. We won't bother her no more.
Right.
It was stuff like that, but I've never, ever, her or any other officer seen them take a letter and pass it to somebody else or anything.
Okay.
Anything like that.
Okay. And, apparently she told Robin, if maybe if you talk to her enough, maybe she'll open up to you. Did she ever say anything like that to you,
No.
Sylvia Hernandez?
No.
And do you know what, again, it seems like you're saying that some people were trying to sort of facilitate that somehow to get Casey to talk. What do you think was behind that? Like,
Well,
because people will be suspicious now that the jail was working with law enforcement.
No, they weren't.
Okay.
They weren't. It was
more like everybody just wanted to know. The public, everybody
yeah,
knows.
it was
sort of
more of what's really going on, just for the truth to come out. And the reason anybody ever made any statements to me or comments to me was because of how mine came out. So everybody felt that maybe because of that, I could convince her just to tell the truth, not to get information out of her and give it to the public or the investigators, nothing like that, but for her to turn herself in.
Okay.
And tell the truth of what happened, if she really got kidnapped, if she was murdered, what, if she overdosed on something, anything, just to tell the truth.
Not necessarily to you.
No.
But just do it.
To the right people, to the law enforcement. That was it.
Right.
I've never once contacted the detectives before this or anything like that. I didn't even know who they were. I've never talked to any law enforcement besides my own detective that was about my case. So...
And just again, like in November, I think you answered this, but I can't remember what you said. In November, when you did make that call, what was it in November that drove you to do that? Why did you decide in November, I'm going to call them?
Well, because really, November for me is the hardest month because of Thanksgiving. And really watching so many clips of her and seeing her picture in the papers and everything, it gets a little frustrating when you can see somebody that just is blank, no emotion. You don't see no emotion in them or anything. I have every now and then seen her cry on TV, but I also remember what she was like in the most private area, which is your cell, in your bed. And I've never seen her cry. So it gets a little frustrating. It really does. And while I was in county, I didn't see my brother and sister face to face. I saw them through a TV. Now to be able to hug them and touch them, they're kids. No child should be treated like that. And being in prison with more people that have hurt children, it makes you not really hate them, but despise them. It makes you just wonder how, why. So if I could at least lead them to the right way, not ask them for anything in return, just lead them to the right way so they can find out the truth, so the baby can rest in peace. That's why. It just happens to be November. It just happened to be that.